Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. Finally, I promised this review to you guys about a month ago, but before I start the review, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. When I filmed my last video, I just released my top 10 books of 2024, and since then that video's exploded. It's my first video with over 1,000 views. I got 50 subscribers from it. And I just want to thank you guys for the amount of support that I got from that video. It was super exciting to see something like that explode and have, at least for me, an incredible amount of popularity. So I just want to thank you guys so much for your support in that video. But yes, Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. I love this book. It was just so amazing. I think I talked about in my other Red Rising reviews of how I think each book got better and better and better than the last, and Lightbringer was that. It was so much better than all of the other Red Rising books that had come before it. Just everything was heightened. The political tension, the ideological clashes, our characters were broken and changed in so many new ways. The antagonists and the villains in this book, I think, were great, just as great, if not greater, than any that we've seen before. The struggles that our main characters had to go through, especially the challenges that they faced, were just so interesting. We had some of my favorite combative and battle scenes of the entire series, and I just think everything comes together to work here. It really was just that good. And there are a couple pacing issues, a couple characters that kind of got on my nerves, but overall, that kind of was less important compared to just the monumental achievement that this book was. It kind of felt like everything that we've had leading up to this book, all of the heartache from the other Red Rising books kind of paid off here in Lightbringer. It was just really, really well done. I think particularly for me, the character work was just superb. Seeing the changes that all of these characters have to go through, from Cassius, Diomedes, Lysander, Darrow, all of these characters and the struggles that they had to get through till they got to just this ending point, which I think sets us up so perfectly for this final confrontation coming in Red Gold. The only thing that I am apprehensive a little bit about Red Gold is I don't know how this comes together. There's so much still left to be accomplished, so many battles still left to fight, that I'm not 100% sure how Pierce Brown will pull it together in the final book, but it was just still, this book was a triumph. I was at the edge of my seat the entire book, and I think that it just is the embodiment of everything I've liked about Red Rising: strong political tensions and interesting ideological clashes, there's the super triumphant highs and the devastating lows, and then just superb character work that just keeps you coming back because you want to see how these characters change and adapt and grow to the different situations that they have to face. But yeah, it was just a really awesome book. I really enjoyed how it has started to wrap up the series, and I am really excited for how Red Gold is just going to have to close everything up. But I will see you in a second for the spoiler sections for the book. Alright, so for my spoiler thoughts, like I said, I just want, the big part of this book for me was the characters. Like, the action was great. I think the best example of that was the Battle of the defense of Phobios, for the little bit of time we spent at Mars, was amazing. It was a really exciting and interesting battle, just the way that the fighting played out, how the Twins of Oceania were used against Victor's fleet, and the fighting with Kavox and the deals that was made between Virginia and Lysander. All of that was awesome. It was a really interesting and exciting battle. However, it was probably one of the least more, not least favorite, because it was still an awesome scene, but was one of my lesser favorite parts of the book, simply because it just didn't have the character moments I think every other part of the book did. I mean, before that, you had the moments with Cassius, Severo, and Darrow, where Darrow and Cassius are coming to this situation expecting to be the heroes, expecting to have this epic saving of Severo, as they used to do back at the Institute, and Darrow was used to earlier in the war, and they get caught, they lose, and they're almost killed by the Minotaur, and it's eventually Severo who saves them. Like, it's those moments. It's Lysander and his conflicts with Atlanta and the decisions that he made in front of the Senate, I think it was. They think they called it in front of the Senate, and the choices and decisions he was forced to make in those moments in order to do what he felt was right. Those were the moments. Like, they were not always as high action, especially with the Lysander stuff. Not always as high action, but it was still just the way that the characters were forced to change and evolve. How Lysander was forced to betray Glycius, how Darrow and Cassius, one more knock to their ego that had already been on the downturn because of the events in previous books. Those were the parts that kind of stuck out to me much more than the Battle of Phobios, because it just didn't have the character moments. No characters didn't really learn or change or anything like that in those moments. It was important plot-wise and politically, but it didn't have those characters that I loved. And that's why the second half of this book that we spent out in the Rim was by far my favorite. Starting off with Darrow, Cassius, and Severo meeting with Quicksilver, and seeing Quicksilver's just resignation of whatever happens here happens, we're going to try something new. Seeing his mix of cynicism and idealism, that this area is screwed, the system is done, there's no way we can save it, and so but the optimism that we can go somewhere else and do better. It was interesting. It was an interesting way to tie up the loose thread of Quicksilver, which was kind of flapping around in the wind after the end of last book. And I would have liked to see a little bit more kind of discussion in that area, but it was interesting for what it was. But once again, it's Darrow expected here to get his ships, get his fighters, and go back and be the savior. And once again, he wasn't able to do that. We saw Severo break, just absolutely break over learning about the death of Ulysses. And once again, just slowly and subtly tweaking these characters' perceptions of themselves, of the world, and setting them up through this epic ideological breakdown and conflict that we do eventually see in the Rim. You see Lysander's betrayal about what's happening with Atlas and killing Helios and destroying the fleet. You see those twinges of maybe Lysander isn't too far gone. Maybe he might actually turn from the course. We see Diomedes saved, and I'll come back to that in a second. But Lysander, I think, had the most interesting arc in this book. Like, I hated Lysander in the other books, but in this book, we saw a couple key moments where Lysander could have stopped. He could have chosen to go away from the course that he was on, especially when he found out what Atlas was doing in the Rim, some of his comments in front of the Senate, his dealings with Virginia, and yet every single time, and then later in the book when he's talking with Diomedes and Darrow, and he's meeting with Cassius, he has all of these moments to change, to stop going down this horrible path that he's on, and yet he stays the course. And just like that slow descent into being someone who might at one point potentially do the right thing, to someone who's willing to genocide a planet in order to accomplish the goals of the society, the great peacemaker who's willing to plunge the Rim into starvation. The Great Peacemaker, the person who I just find the irony of someone who wants to, bring peace and prosperity to the world, the person who's already broken Luna, the person who's already broken Luna with Atlanta. Venus is in turmoil, plans to genocide Mars, and has plunged the Rim into starvation. Just the irony of that, as Lysander isn't able to see the harm of his actions, is just fascinating. I just really enjoy, like, the fact, I hate Lysander, but the fact that there were moments there where I thought that he could change, or that I thought that he would choose the right thing, is what makes Pierce Brown's character work so amazing. And then you're looking at how I think Cassius is another excellent piece of character work. Someone who's trying to be better. Someone who wants to be as honorable as he used to think he was. And it just makes the ending of his story all the more tragic, of at the point where he's trying to do the most honor, he's trying to do the best thing, killed by someone who he had mentored and trained, is tragic. And him going closer to Darrow was amazing. I think Darrow's disillusionment was also kind of awesome. Like, I love Darrow as a character, but he made a lot of mistakes, in forcing him to come to the daughters of Athena, and forcing to come to terms with his actions, come to terms with the consequences of what he's done, and becoming disillusioned with his own myth was just a really awesome part in this book. Seeing Severo kind of have to re-become himself was awesome, and it was just the way that the characters were forced to change and develop. I think Diomedes, another character that we just saw him as this stoic, believes in the vision of the society, well, the Rim Society, and seeing him just accept that he failed. One of the best lines in the entire book is he's standing in front of or kneeling in front of the daughters of Artemis. "We have broken the contract, take your due." It's just seeing these characters losing the vision of what they were and what they wanted to be, and having to come to terms with how things actually are, was, I think, the best parts of this book for me. The Rim, of course, also had some really great fighting scenes. The duel between Atlas, Cassius, and Lysander and the Gorgons was really awesome. The whole fight with Fa was really cool. I enjoyed how the Volk and the Ascamani arc kind of came to a close, and I think that seeing not only Darrow retake this mantle in the eyes of the Volk, but also giving it up and letting them choose it, was a very kind of moment of kind of like, oh, he's starting to make the right choice now. And just I think the Rim part was probably was a highlight of the whole series for me. Just the character work, the combat, the political ideological clashing, and just this culmination of everything that we've been getting ready. Cassius' redemption, Darrow's reemergence as Severo's reemergence as a warlord, Darrow's refinding his purpose and path in the society after this, the rebuilding of the Republic force, rebuilding of almost these Republic reinforcements, and Lysander's true turn over to, I think in the next book, he will take a truly antagonistic role. He was an antagonist in this book, but there were some potential changes there. I think he's going to take a truly villainous, antagonistic role in the next book. So I think this book was not only phenomenal in its own right, with the character work that was done, but also just set the pieces up beautifully for what I do believe will be a genuinely phenomenal finale in Red Gold that I cannot wait for. But I really love this book. Highly recommend it. But that's it for the Lightbringer review. I just wanted to say thank you one more time for the support you've shown me on my previous videos. When it comes to what's coming out next, I am finished I'm Afraid You Got Dragons by Peter S. Beagle. That's a shorter book, so it's going to be a shorter review, so I'll try to get that out to you guys soon. And I finished Wise Man's Fear, so I'll probably get a review of that out for you as well. When it comes to what I'm reading next, am still on Crossroads of Twilight. I started to jump into that a little bit more heavy on Crossroads of Twilight. And we have a couple books on hold at the library, so we'll see when they get into what I'll be reading next. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.